We'll call the meeting of the RPO to order and begin with our roll call of members.
Frank Williams.
Here.
Mike Forte.
Here.
Mark Martin.
Here.
Rich Alt.
Here.
Jeff Weinkoff said he would not be able to attend. Sylvester Ballard. Laverne Coleman. Also heard from him last night, but he is unable to attend. Scott Floyd. Terry Mann.
Here.
Gary Keaton.
Here.
Jerry Groves.
Here.
Hugh Kennedy.
He's on there.
I see you online, but we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Here.
William Ravenbart.
Here.
Ralph Hupp, who's our new Board of Transportation member.
Who does Ralph replace?
He replaced Grady Hunt in Division 6,
Okay.
and I do not see him online.
What's his name?
Ralph
Hey,
Hupp.
Sam, this is Lee Jernigan. Can you hear me from Division 6 of DOT?
Yes, sir.
Apologies, but Ralph is out of town today and will not be able to attend.
That's completely okay. I understand. Thank you very much.
That complete the roll.
That completes the roll call. For voting purposes, I'll have Mr. Alt as on the roll call for future votes,
Okay.
given who's here for voting in alternates. But yes, we have quorum.
Move on to invocation and pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Forte has agreed to lead.
Lord, thank you for allowing us to assemble here today to do the people's business. We ask that you give us wisdom and knowledge so that we can make the right decisions for our counties today.
Yes.
Transportation is a huge thing for us with all of this growth. So please guide us correctly. We ask that you watch over all of our first responders in particular. Keep them safe. They have a tough job. We ask all of these things in your most holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike?
Mr. Chair, I want to quickly acknowledge that Mayor Sheila Grady from Northwest is online. So even though
Morning, Mayor.
Mr. Ballard isn't here on the voting side.
Good morning.
And now read the ethics, awareness, and conflict of interest statement that we're required to read aloud at the beginning of each meeting. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every committee member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any committee member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the committee today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the particular matter involved. Does anyone know of any conflicts? As always, if you see something when we get to it, please bring it up then. Any additions or corrections to the agenda, or do we have a motion?
Move.
Motion by Mayor Mann. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Alt. Any discussions? Seeing none, we'll do roll call.
Frank Williams.
Yes.
Mike Forte.
Yes.
Mark Martin.
Yes.
Rich Alt.
Yes.
Terry Mann.
Yes.
Gary Keaton.
Yes.
Gary Groves.
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy.
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
Yes.
Agenda is approved, and the next item is approval of the minutes from our August 15th meeting, which were in your packet. Does anyone have any changes or additions or corrections, or do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Forte. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Mann. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Frank Williams.
Aye.
Mike Forte.
Aye.
Mark Martin.
Yes.
Rich Alt.
Yes.
Terry Mann.
Yes.
Gary Keaton.
Yes.
Gary Groves.
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy.
Yes.
William Ravenbart.
And the minutes are approved, and thank you. Next item is public comment. First question is, did we receive any electronically or ahead of time?
We did not.
Does anyone online from the public wish to comment? I think everyone in the room is staff or on the board, but I'll still ask the question. Anybody in the room wish to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first presentation, which is Cape Fear RPO Prioritization 8.0 Project Submittals.
Yes, so I guess an overview, before I give the overview of the projects for today. In order to accommodate our public involvement plans, requirement for a public hearing on items such as prioritization projects, I'm going to briefly present to you what our project submittal lists are. And then we'll have an opportunity for a public hearing if there is any comment from the public on these projects. And then we can get to TAC discussion and action on those project lists. So we are in the submittal window, the project submittal window of the prioritization 8.0 process. We have until the end of this month, September, to submit our projects. The Cape Fear RPO is given 13 project submittals per mode. That allotment changes per planning organization. And the projects that we have on our list are from either previous rounds of prioritization, projects that we've seen before. They can also include new projects. And the lists that I'm going to go through today were reviewed and recommended by the TCC, which is the staff body that makes recommendations to this board.
Was this the same list that was in people's packets that you're getting ready to go over?
Yes, I'm getting ready to go over, yes, sir, the lists that are in the packets that you have.
Do you know which page we're looking at?
Say again?
Which page has a list?
So yes, I'll start here.
Okay.
It would be good to have page numbers for the packets if we
Yes.
could.
I will do that next time. So before I start with the aviation projects, I'll go through the modes alphabetically. I first want to give a brief recap as to how we ended up with these project lists. So when a round of prioritization starts, or we decide what we're submitting as planning organizations and as NCDOT divisions, the spot office, which is the prioritization office, helps clarify what projects reach a carryover status. That list is also in your packet. Carryover projects are projects that will compete in prioritization, but do not require taking up a submittal slot by a planning organization or a division. They meet certain criteria that essentially there is enough project development ongoing that they automatically will recompete. One clarification, we had discussion last time as to whether the widening of NC 211 from Midway to Sunset Harbor qualifies as a carryover or not. It does not for this cycle. The clarification I got from DOT was it needed to be on the same environmental document as the section that's under construction right now from 87 to Midway. And they are separate projects in that regard. That's no problem. We can have it on our highway list, but that's why it doesn't meet there's only a few criteria that would allow it to be a carryover. That won't impact its score further on in the process. It's merely just, we have to intentionally use a submittal slot for 211 instead of another project, which I don't anticipate being an issue because it's a priority corridor. We also, throughout this process, are in constant coordination with DOT. In the prioritization process, there are different funding categories, and those funding categories can change, or the projects that are eligible for those categories are different. The funding amounts in each category may be different. And so there's kind of an ongoing back and forth with DOT to understand, okay, what projects would be strategic to submit this round based on available funding and kind of their relative competitiveness to other projects. In late July, we had county meetings in Brunswick, Columbus, and Pender to discuss our previous prioritization projects from the last round and to decide what priorities are within each county before combining that to be a kind of a priority list for the RPO. And those project lists, those draft lists were presented to this body in August. As a reminder, as I go through the modes, there are 6 modes: aviation, bicycle and pedestrian treated as one, ferry, highway, rail, and public transit. So to start with the aviation projects. There is minimal change to this list from the list you saw in August. Two projects that were on the list in August from Henderson Field or Wallace Pender Airport. Two of them I actually found out did get picked up for funding in the STIP, so we didn't need to have them on our list. So that's a happy change. And the Columbus County Municipal Airport added an airfield maintenance and storage facility project. I will note, and we can have discussion on this in a few minutes, I am awaiting a possible extra one or two submittals from Cape Fear Regional Jetport. The engineer that I've been talking to he's kind of been in and out of the office, and so our communication's been spotty. But there's room on this. If they had another project or two to add to the list, it would not come at the expense.
Question about the Cape Fear Jetport.
Yes, sir.
What is the process to strengthen the existing runway? What does that mean? Do we repave it?
I would guess. I'm not an engineer.
Size of the plane that they're talking about.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
Well,
it's a big
belongs to
one.
an individual and they want to be able to have them fly in more
You
often.
know whose plane it is, so. I'm curious what that process is. No biggie.
My guess,
Typically, it's widening or they're resurfacing or they're using different materials. They try to upgrade different runways in reference to size of airplanes, which is reference to how fast they land. That's the information I've been told from aviation. I don't have the details specifically.
Okay.
They kind of generalize them for project descriptions for the most part. And then I don't know exactly who's reviewing aviation specifically in the thought process, but I imagine there's coordination beyond that, so they can kind of understand that project better, because the framework of how projects are scored in aviation are different from the framework of a highway project.
It's above my pay grade. I had no idea how they do this.
Yeah, like that widening, surface replacement, different materials that are used, perimeter fencing, these are all kind of typical upgrades that we see for aviation, at least from my experience. I've
Okay,
seen.
thank you.
this is why we keep the engineers around.
Yeah.
They're smart. They know
This is
things.
the purpose.
But again,
So there's only one new project at this time. There might be a last minute, which if this board is okay with, there's available slots. We have not reached our max of 13 on aviation. We can discuss that in a few minutes. The next list is the bicycle and pedestrian list. This is one list that we have maxed out our 13 slots. This is also largely the same as was presented in October, but I do have a few changes to make note of. So the first, you may recall, we had discussion in our August 15th meeting about a multi-use path project in Oak Island. There's been discussion as to whether the town would prefer a multi-use path on East Oak Island Drive or on East Yacht Drive. However, in the last few weeks, we have realized a couple of things. One, the East Yacht Drive multi-use path is not yet in an adopted plan, therefore making it ineligible to submit in prioritization at this time anyway. But then furthermore, the multi-use path, the project that we had prepared from P7 went from it went from 46th Street to 64th. The reason I'm telling you that is because now the town of Oak Island has a sidewalk project out for bid from 46th to 56th. That's in the same spot of half of the multi-use path. So rather than try to submit a multi-use path that would immediately replace a brand new sidewalk, we have changed our project on that corridor to just be a sidewalk picking up from 56th and running to 65th, which is the remaining distance of Oak Island's commercial district. This would provide a sidewalk from end to end of the commercial district on the north side of Oak Island Drive. So that's a change from the last time you saw this list in August. Another change is we added a multi-use path on East Moore Street in Southport, basically from downtown to Ferry Road. This lines up with several plans in Southport as well as the East Coast Greenway. As the East Coast Greenway comes down by Curry Beach and Fort Fisher, crosses over on the ferry, and that's where it enters Brunswick County. And so this would essentially be the beginning segment of that East Coast Greenway alignment. And then the last change on this list There were no changes to any of the projects in Columbus County. And then there was one edit to the second to last project on the list, which is a multi-use path in Topsail Beach. In P7, we submitted this multi-use path segment from Davis Avenue, which is essentially the north end of their downtown area, all the way up to the town line. To make this project more competitive, we have chopped that in half using Tower Court as the midline. And the RPO is proposing to submit this segment from Davis Avenue to Tower Court. And the remaining half is on the division's list for possible submittal, since they can also submit bike and ped projects. And so that is a change since our August meeting.
Anybody have any questions about that before we move on to the next?
Yeah, I have a question. So Sam, we also talked about how we fill the gap now. So with the sidewalk bid going out to replace the multi-use path for DOT, now we have the gap that's going to show up between 65th Street to 79th Street, which is the residential area that's stuck in between our two commercial districts. So we had talked about, submitting a multi-use path project now to address that gap between 65th Street and 79th Street. Is now the appropriate time to introduce that on the project list, or do you want to wait until the sidewalk contract is underway?
My opinion, I would wait for that first sidewalk segment to be underway. And I would revisit adding that additional segment from 65th to 79th in our next round of project submittals.
Okay, because if we can get the sidewalk all the way to 65th, then the sidewalk starts again on the north side of East Oak Island at 79th.
Right.
So it would make sense to try to connect those sidewalks with a multi-use path. And then,
Sure.
Of course, the town, we already have a project in our budget to do the multi-use path from 31st Street to 46th. And then, our new sidewalk bid that's out there would pick that up and create the sidewalk right up to 56. So we literally could have a pedestrian connection from 31st Street almost all the way to the Country Club Drive, right? I mean, that would be incredible. So,
right. As of right now, to submit a project so this one that we have on the list right now from 56th to 65th, we can justify its connection to the sidewalk that the town is currently having out for bid. And so it benefits from that connection, and it benefits from the different kind of accessibility and connectivity points of being there in the commercial district. Those same benefits would not exist in the same way going through the residential section from 65th to 79th. And so it would benefit more having this 56th to 65th segment already happening, instead of submitting 65th to 79th to the hypothetical connection at 65th, if that makes sense.
Right. Understand.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure that this board sees the vision that we see at Oak Island.
Sure. I understand that.
Any other questions on bike ped before we move on?
I do have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Under the very last one for Surf City, or any of them really, but specifically the one in Surf City on Pender County project, are there any timelines kind of in mind for when these take place?
Best case scenario, when we're submitting projects through prioritization, this specific round these projects are competing for a spot in the 2028 to 2037 STIP. And generally speaking, the first 3 to 4 years of that STIP already have scheduled and funded projects. So you're looking at best case scenario winning essentially a spot starting in years 5 and beyond, which the shortwave saying, do not expect any of these projects within the next 5 years. Prioritization is the long game. If there are other faster reasons to have a project or methods, essentially that's not prioritization.
Sam will probably be the only one still at this table when they get built.
Breathing oxygen.
Hey, now speak for yourself. It might be through a tube.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other bike ped questions before we move on to the next mode? Seeing none, we'll go to, I guess, ferry is next.
Yes. The ferry list is the list that has changed the most significantly since August, but not in any type of crazy way. Essentially, the list you saw in August had half Fort Fisher Southport ferry projects and half statewide related projects. Since then, we've been in touch with the ferry division, and they have essentially reassigned how they would like the planning organizations and the divisions to submit projects, and projects to the statewide systems and the Mans Harbor Shipyard. They have generally assigned to the divisions to submit, and have asked the planning organizations to submit route specific projects. And so that gave us a few extra Southport Fort Fisher ferry projects to add. I have on here just simply for space on the screen, the very, very simple description of the projects. And because I'm still inputting them into the spot system online, I've instead identified them by the number they were given in the ferry list that they sent us a couple weeks ago. So half of these were already on our list, and then the other half were added at the request of the ferry division. You may notice several of these looking very, very similar. Basically submitting one project with 2 benefits and then a project with 3 benefits to see if the cost of adding that third benefit is justified by the additional, I guess, benefit of the additional improvement. Just using the submittal slots that are available to try to play the game. And so I don't want you to see them as canceling each other out. It's just a strategic move on the ferry division's part. But that's the change that has happened here. All of these are Fort Fisher Southport ferry route, which is in the RPO, at least half of it in the RPO.
No Lake Walk-em-off projects on the ferry?
Not this time. Not this time. Maybe next time.
Well, on these projects, is the money that would fix these things, is it in competition with the road money, or when it comes out of Raleigh, is there money dedicated to ferries and dedicated to roads and dedicated to X?
There's some of both. So there is a certain percentage of the available funding required to go to highway projects, and a certain percentage of the available funding required to go to non-highway projects.
Also, that's everything included.
That's everything that, yeah. So ferry, aviation, and then there's a little percentage that can swing one way or the other.
Because on my phone, I get a text every time the ferry is out of service, which is several times a week. So right now they're down to doing the winter ferry route because one of the ramps is broken again. And the ramps are always broken. But it seems like it would be nice to be able to get the ramps fixed somehow. But I don't know if it's just, if you do that, then does the 211 project go away? I mean, I'm not familiar enough to be able to make that.
It's not that competitive with those specific 2 projects.
Okay.
So 211 is this on Monster.
Okay.
Right. The ramps and the ramp repair has to happen. Yeah.
They're just constantly broken. Every week they're broken.
Yeah. Any other questions about
that
list? Okay. Next mode is highway. Again, there are hardly any changes to this list since you last saw it in August. Really, the only things to update are confirmation that if we want to resubmit NC 211 from Sunset Harbor to Midway, it goes on this list and not the carryover list. The remaining segment from Sunset Harbor to US 17 is on the GSTAT submittal list. We've been,
That was my question.
yes, from the start of this, we've been on the same page with them of if these segments do not qualify as carryover, we are both holding a spot for the NC 211 projects. And they have had no disagreements with that and been good partners in that way. And then the last change is the last project underneath Brunswick County, adding turn lanes at a few different intersections along NC 87 in BSL. This is a modification of a project that we submitted in P7. The only modification being we have removed one of the intersections in the hopes that it is getting wrapped into a maintenance project in the next year or so. But otherwise, it was still, this segment of 87 is eligible for the statewide tier. And so it has a chance at competing in all three funding categories. It is a extremely low cost project related to others, and it scored extremely well. And so although he couldn't be here today, I spoke with Mayor Weinkoff earlier this week, as well as his staff over the past couple of weeks. And they advocated for this project immensely. And I think that the data and the reasoning supports adding that on there. So that was the last addition to this list since the last meeting.
Sam, before we move on to Columbus County. Number one, thank you for getting the traffic light in front of the BSL Fire Department. I understand you're gonna turn it on Tuesday.
You're welcome. I had nothing to do with that, but you're absolutely welcome. I did all of it.
I did not claim credit.
I built it myself. That's why some of the emails have been coming out late.
I saw the tools in the back.
Yeah, I know. I got a couple bruises on my legs. It was a whole,
But I
haven't slept in a week.
Because it slays me watching them try to pull out of that fire department and people just don't stop.
Right, yeah. So Representative Miller had a lot to do with getting that funding. So did Senator Raven, and then our staff went out there.
Because they're mad at me.
Right. That's okay, but I mean, we're trying to specifically target some of those fire response or emergency
Like
response.
Greenville Road 17.
Trying to get funding for that too. So spoke with Senator Raven about that on Tuesday.
I'm sorry, what was that last part that you trying to get funding for?
Trying to get funding for these preemptive signals for all the first responders.
Okay, gotcha.
All those fire departments that don't have that now. So
And Winterbo will sit at that Green Hill 17 intersection for three and a half minutes. Cars just keep going.
man,
How do you not stop?
yeah.
Lights and sirens.
People aren't
on.
paying attention.
No.
Yeah, that particular intersection is gonna be a bigger project than just one signal. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll probably do RCI with some signalization there as well, but you
Is
know.
there a way to put a warning signal further ahead of the fire department that can be timed with that so people can see, okay, maybe there's a fire truck coming out, I need to start slowing down because well, probably a lot of times they're already going 70 and by the time they realize that truck's there, they can't slow down.
Yeah, very good point. You know, all that'll be incorporated into the design.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
For clarification, I only operated the bucket truck. Eric was the one in it. He wiring the traffic light.
Well done, John.
He built it on the spot. It was really impressive.
I require video proof.
I was in that section. Connected it to.
But it doesn't have any power needs.
They're gonna turn it on Tuesday, is what I'm told.
Yes, man. Solar.
The rest of the list remains unchanged from what was presented in August. So the projects in Columbus County and Pender County haven't changed at all. But if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I apologize. I do have a quick question. I wasn't able to attend the August meeting.
That's
Pender
okay.
County and the intersection at 17 and 210. What are the improvements from that or for that look like?
I believe, is that the green tea?
I'll ask it again. No, and I apologize.
At one point in time, there was gonna be a green tea there. We have since found that green teas are not quite as efficient
Okay.
as what would be required at that particular intersection. So we're still evaluating what the best option is for that particular intersection.
Excellent. And look, the reason I asked, for those of you who are not going to know, and I'm not trying to, I see things that I can't help but see. I was a highway patrolman in Pender, New Hanover, Brunswick, Onslow for 28 years. So when I see stuff, I recognize that I can't help it. I see points of congestion. Points of congestion create collisions. You know, that domino never stops falling. It looks like there's well, it doesn't look like there is a mini storage place going in right at that intersection. And it looks like for whatever reason, they're tapping into that corner just to trigger that light for them to come out of there and make left turns or go straight across. Well, there's just not going to be that much traffic there. It looks to me like it would be to exit out of that end, just be a right out only, and you never disrupt that intersection, and you really don't have to change anything. Just food for thought. We'll move on. I'm not trying to dig in the weeds on that too terribly, just trying to float that idea if that was what the improvement was.
Okay, that's good context to have. Thank you. We'll keep you updated as the study on that continues. Any other questions on highway? Okay, updates to the rail project list. So nothing has been added, but I wanted to follow up on questions from our August meeting. And I believe, yes, I do have someone with the rail division online in case the update I give is lacking. They can help clarify. So when we looked at this list in August, there were questions about two projects. One is right in the middle of that list, R 184030. There's a grade separation at Mount Misery and the CSX line there in Northwest, making it a grade separation. I reached out to the rail division, and so full context of that project, it was originally submitted in P6 and again in P7. Rail division said at this crossing, the traffic is low. There are only 4 freight trains and 2 switching trains per day. It's a relatively low-cost project, although still likely to go up from round to round, but also compared or scored relatively low to other projects. They said, since the safety numbers don't support a strong scoring project at this time, we would recommend this project not be pursued unless there's a strong community interest.
I will say based on, my dad lived a mile and less than 2 miles from that location. I would think that project would cause more disruption than benefit. I just, that's mostly farmland surrounding it. The council member from Northwest that was here last time, I think agreed. So I'd recommend striking that from the list.
Okay. So when we come to the action portion, Commissioner Williams, just so you know, in the list of projects you have, I have multiple versions of the rail list.
Okay.
So that if the group decides to remove that, there's a version for you to sign that has that project taken out. The other project that there was questions about is third from the bottom, R 191575. It's the double rail crossing at Niels Eddy Road.
Actually, it's on the bottom. Well, it's on
That is, he's got it.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the screen. It's probably at the bottom of the page. This one was another project that it's not a common type of project. For context, side tracks are typically a bit lower than the main track. Raising the siding is difficult. There's an added crossing expense to raise the siding for long distances before and after the roadway. The rail division has said if the RPO and the surrounding community really do want to pursue this project, it would likely need local funding to improve its scoring chances. And then also, so not only because of the cost, but the safety component of the scoring is pretty low. So we can stay on the list, but at the same time, if we're not going to put any local funds toward it, and there's not much of a safety benefit.
And that would be, I guess, Columbus County would be the one putting local funds in. I mean, I also know that intersection, and there's also a bridge project in Division 6 that's going to be on that same road, closing that road probably in the near future. So I don't know that we need multiple disruptions on that road happening in a short time frame, especially. I mean, I'd recommend, unless somebody from Columbus County thinks there's a major reason to leave it on, take it off from what I'm hearing.
The county's gotta put money in it. I don't know. I don't think it'll. Don't hold back, Terry.
So if, again, I know we have someone from the rail division online. If there are any further questions about the rail projects.
I just want to say if there's anything,
I had a question. The rail project, for the Mount Misery Road to be, taken off, is that the R 184030?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask a question while we're, the one R 191560 Sand Hole Road, near Regalwood, where is that? And does it fall into the same category as the ones that were taken off? Cause it's a big enough road that I grew up near Regalwood and I've never heard of it. I just wonder if we're putting a project on here that there's no need for. I have no idea where that is and I grew up out there.
I'm not entirely sure
Okay.
off the top of my head without looking at the map.
Hi, this is Alex Demars from the
Hey.
Rail Division. I
Hey,
can
Alex.
chime in on that one. It is another location where the train traffic is pretty low. So unless there's really strong community interest, there is not a real need for that project from the rail. So it's up to you guys whether you see a real need or there's some real disruption. But the numbers, for example, for safety are quite low.
Okay.
And I guess that begs the question, where did these projects come from if no one sees a need for them?
Some of it is just identifying pretty much all at grade crossings.
Okay.
And seeing if there is a safety benefit.
Yeah. We could have an overpass every 50 feet if we did that though, and that's
so,
as long as we got crossbars, I think a lot of these are good.
Mr. Jerry, did you have a question?
yeah, I just want to speak about the first three, the projects, from Wallace to, back down to New Hanover County. Pender County is very, active in supporting all these projects. And I think Burgaw is too. I'm not going to speak for Burgaw, but, any updates, just please send me an email.
Certainly. I know that where things stand right now, about a year, I think it was last fall, we had someone from the rail division come to present on the Southeastern North Carolina passenger rail feasibility study. I can send you more information on that. And I know that the rail division has received funding for additional study on 7 different rail corridors in North Carolina, that one being one of them.
Yeah.
And so as I get more information, I will absolutely.
Yeah, they were talking about 10 to 12 years, so maybe I'll see some of it.
And I will note that the grade separation on Highway 11, I could see a need for that. That's a much busier location. Sure. Any other questions on rail? And who would have thought rail would have as many questions as highway?
You just never know.
Hi, this is Ken Clark, Division 6. Just to clarify a couple of matters you mentioned there, the Neils Eddy and the Sand Hole both, they were added many, many years ago because of the quality of the ride quality of the crossing, more so than the safety issue. So I would foresee no reason not to take those off. I let those go, but keep NC 11 on there because that is a pretty high volume road there on Highway 11 at that crossing.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Thank you, Ken. That's good context.
I think everybody's on the same page, it sounds like.
Sounds like it. Okay. And then the last mode is public transportation. There have been no changes to this. 2 of the projects for the Brunswick Transit System and 1 in Pender County. This is the same as we submitted in P7. I've spoken with all 3 of the transit providers. They had no recommended changes to this list. So.
Any questions on transit? Not a lot to questions. Does that Anything else we need to present or just move on to the public hearing?
That's all I have for presentation purposes.
Move on and open the public hearing for public comments specifically related to these project submittal list. And first question is, have we received any electronically in advance?
No.
Anybody online from the public wish to comment on the project submittals? Going once? Going twice? Anybody in the room? Looks like, again, everybody here is board or staff, so going once? Going twice? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item 10, which is the actual vote on these. And just one thing I think, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, is this will be just submitting the projects. This is not point assignments. That comes later.
That is correct. This is
Just I just want to make that clear. We're not submitting points today. This is putting these in to see how they score, to see if we need to put to assign points to them. So
that's correct.
did want to make that clear because it's easy to sometimes get mixed up on where we are in this extremely convoluted process. And the ones that I have the list of for rail that we were going to take off are R184030, R191560, which is the Sandhole Road one, and R191575, which is upgrading the crossing at Neils Eddy Road. So at this point, unless anyone has discussion, I would accept a motion to approve all the submittals with those three removed from rail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rivenbark, second by Mayor Mann. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will move on to a vote, roll call vote.
Okay. And just to be clear, we're handling all of the projects.
Yes.
To vote. That worked for me. Frank Williams.
Yes.
Mike Forte.
Aye.
Mark Martin.
Yes.
Rich Alt.
Aye.
Terry Mann.
Yes.
Gary Keaton.
Yes.
Jerry Groves. Hugh Kennedy.
Yes.
William Rivenbark.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. I've said it at many of these meetings, but what we're doing right now, the classifying projects, assigning points later, is the main reason we are here at this board meeting. And I think it's important that people dig in and pay attention, because I don't know what's going on in your community, and we rely on everybody to tell us what's happening in their area. So I just want to thank everybody for participating in that. I think it's the most important thing this board does. Now we'll move on to functional classification updates.
The fun just doesn't stop. Last thing. So again, we'll submit these projects. They'll go in by the end of the month, and anticipate the scores to come back to you late spring. So, okay. Functional classification. Over the past 4 months or so, the RPO has been working with DOT's Transportation Planning Division on a review of the state's functional classification designations. And we have prepared our final list of recommendations with RTC, the recommendation for your review today. As a reminder, this is a process that, at least at this scale, we only do every decade. This follows the census. And so after they take a few years to get all the census data straightened out, then FHWA kind of kickstarts this review of functional class, hands it to the states divide it up among the planning organizations, and that's how we get here. So the functional class, in short, is a way of classifying roads based on how they move traffic and where they're moving the traffic. So what land they're providing access to. In other words, how the road functions. We're not getting creative with the names. So you can think of functional class in 3 very simple categories: arterials, collectors, and local roads. Arterials, on a lot of cars, moving them fast, moving them far distances, all the way down to local roads. Hopefully not moving them fast, but providing a lot of access to property, shopping centers, residential areas, things like that.
Is that list in our packet? I don't see it anywhere. List of the
Right. The list of the specific functional classes.
now of what the numbers, because it's got the numbers on the chart, but I don't have a list of what the numbers stand for other than what I see there.
No, other than what's in the little legend.
Okay, I see it now. Yes, very small print.
It is very small print. I'll provide magnifying glasses.
I have some extras if you need them.
Okay, thank you.
I inherited them.
So specifically for this process, the range of arterials is split across 4 categories. And then collectors, there are 2 different types, a major and a minor, and then a local road stays the same. So and I guess, so we started this in June. The RPO submitted a draft list to DOT or to the Transportation Planning Division. They reviewed it. They have a committee that's been looking at this. They sent comments back in July, and I spent August coordinating with them, looking at some of the comments that I received back from their recommendations. And then now here we are in September with our final list, and DOT's deadline to get the entire statewide list to FHWA is early November. So I'm gonna zoom in and go just kind of by things of several of these sections. One thing to note, so there are 46 recommended changes. I'm not going to read them off one by one. All but 2 of them are upgrades in functional class. Upgrades meaning identified them as moving more traffic than they were moving 10 years ago, basically. The 2 that have moved down a classification, I have done so with, so both of them, one is, I wrote it down, so US 76, west of the split with US 74, as well as Hallsborough Road, kind of in southeastern Columbus County. Both of those segments that we've bumped down in classification. The Division 6, Ken and I took a look at this and have their kind of agreement with that change in classification, just for your information. Otherwise, so here, an upgrade to US 701 south of Whiteville headed towards Tabor City, upgrade to NC 410, cutting down from US 74 through Chadburn, on the way to Tabor City, frankly, on the way to Myrtle Beach. Couple of minor changes in between Whiteville and Chadburn. Also the main road there in Lake Waccamaw. This gives you a closer look at some of the segments around Whiteville, segments that are just, again, busier than they were 10 years ago, and kind of filling gaps, connecting larger arterials, and things like that. Here again, zooming in on 701 and 410 coming into Tabor City, handling traffic that cuts through Columbus County en route to the beach, as well as kind of the continued development coming out of the Myrtle Beach area into the edges of Columbus County. This is an upgrade in kind of the road parallel to 7476 that goes through Northwest, crosses the county line, goes by International Paper, and connects into the Regalwood area.
Northwest Road.
Yes.
Slash turns into something else when it crosses the county line.
Yes.
Which one is that on here? We're on the list.
That was 17 and 18.
On here.
Oh, so IDs 17 and 18 should be near the bottom of that first page. Moving further south into Brunswick County, upgrades to NC 906 and the traffic there, acknowledging its role as an evacuation route as well. Upgrading Danford Road as a connection between Bolivia and the county complex, and then those that live along 87 and BSL.
What does that mean, improving Danford? Widening? Paving?
All of this isn't proposing any type of project. This is merely acknowledging, frankly, that road is busier today than it was 10 years ago.
Just changing warehouse categories.
Yeah, so Danford's a real heavily traveled cut through.
Right.
Heck, I'm on it 4 times a day.
Right. Yeah, I figured you were.
Right.
So something about Danford, that was the bypass or the detour for 133. Well, that would have picked those numbers up because people went up there if they wanted to come to this side of Wilmington.
That's true. If it was, if
They cut it there all the time. I mean, I did it all the time.
numbers were measured while 133 was closed, they could, it still needs to be changed, but it could have affected the numbers.
But isn't this on the other side of 87?
This is on the west side of 87. So that's a good, thank you, Commissioner Forte, a good clarification. None of these are recommended projects at this time. Simply what this is an acknowledgement that these roads are functioning at a higher level of traffic than they were when this was reviewed a decade ago.
How does the classification assigned to them play into maintenance and upgrades and things like that? How does this matter in the grand scheme of things as far as actually what happens to the road down the road?
I know that specifically towards the end, there are differences with major collector, minor collector, and local in terms of state and federal funding available for maintenance of those roadways. I don't know much of the specifics beyond that.
We could be looking at widening lane widths on having paved shoulder versus grass shoulder, having rumble strips versus, I mean, let's just face it, we have a lot of broken shoulder or broken edge of pavement right at basically the edge line. So those types of things, those type of maintenance measures, we try to address in resurfacing manner. I mean, like in Hanford, we just resurfaced that and kind of improved that ahead of the detour and the closure for 133. So,
and y'all look at these classifications as you're doing that. I mean, it sounds
it plays a role in some of our decision making. Most of it is really traffic volumes, which also ties right back into this classification.
Right.
So.
Something to note on is all these highway projects that we've gone through, we have to classify them based on the functional class that they're given. So that comes to like a standardness, similar to what Trevor was just mentioning. So if there's a standard that should be met for a certain classification of that road, that's going to be a lot more.
Okay.
The project would be more amped to get funding.
So yeah, so to rephrase that and make sure I heard you correctly, if it's classified as a higher traveled road versus a lower traveled road, there's a higher threshold that it needs to meet to.
There's a standard there.
A standard, and that standard could affect the scoring in a positive way to help it get funded.
That's right.
Okay. And I noticed 95% of these, it looks like changed by one category number, but there were a few that changed by two. Is that unusual, or is that just typical for an area that's growing fast?
It depends on what it's jumping from. So most of the ones that have changed by two designations went from a local road to a major collector.
Like a 7 to a 5 are the ones I'm looking at.
Pretty much everything else was only changing by one.
Okay.
But in most of the changes from a 7 to a 5 were in, pockets of Brunswick County, for example, that have grown quite large.
Really?
I heard. I keep saying they're coming. I'm waiting for them to get here.
I read about that in a Facebook post cursing me.
So just to finish through the insets, again, this is several examples of the growth in southeastern Brunswick County, both coming into Oak Island over both bridges, and then several roads in Oak Island and Southport. And then lastly in Pender County. So extending the functional class on US 421 all the way to Malpass Corner. Malpass Corner Road that basically cut through from 421 to 53. A segment of, I believe that's Wilmington Street right in Burgaw, as it connects all the way over to 117, and then upgrading the classification of NC 53 as it heads from I-40 out to the county line towards Jacksonville. And the last one, NC 210 and NC 50 coming through Surf City. And then that pass through by the school going from NC 50 to US 17 there at the top near the county line. And then, of course, I'm forgetting road names now. Watts Landing there in southwestern Surf City. So there's kind of 46 functional class changes that RPO staff and the TCC are recommending kind of our final submission to DOT for their review in the next month or so. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, this is just one ingredient to the many things that get evaluated when DOT looks at projects and corridors, and is merely an acknowledgement of the change in how these roads are functioning presently compared to what they were 10 years ago.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah, in the town of Bourbon, the city, they've already done some preliminary survey and got stakes up around between the, let's see, or would it be Walker Street, and then turns west on Williamson Street, all that's already. So the process has started to widen that turn. How long is that process gonna take?
I really have to check into that.
Okay.
And find out for you.
They got it staked off. I know part of one of the curves there in front of my church, they've offered us $3,800 to take part of our property there on that turn. The town, I think, has been offered $15,000 or something to widen Walker Street from Wilmington, going out 53. We touched on it Tuesday night, but
Trevor, that one
about when it may start construction.
It's R5701.
The let date for that project is 2027 right now.
Okay.
Currently, June of 2027.
Okay.
But I can touch up with you in the meeting and just kind of give you where I'm at, where I have updates for it currently.
So some of that survey and some of those stakes might be there to help identify the part of the acreage to be taken for the project, for the right-of-way process.
Right, and I understand that because I can see you're gonna take right much of that turn, especially with those 18-wheelers making that 90-degree turn there, which is most sensible drivers will back up and give them room. The other ones go past the stop bar, which I have a huge problem with.
Sensible drivers.
Yeah.
I wish the state patrol would ticket everybody that goes past the stop bar. That stop bar is there for a reason. And the reason why I say that because I was transportation director with the schools for 4 or 5 years. And,
yes, sir.
And it creates sight vision problems.
It really does. Yeah, it really does.
All right, just interesting. I don't know how long it's gonna take to. So 2027?
June of 2027 is a let date, so that'll go out to bid then.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
I'll throw one of my note questions in now. We've got 48 new homes coming at Old River 117. And everybody's hollering about that stoplight there at Ashton Crossroads. So I don't know if we want to get it. I know the survey's been done and the soil sample.
Okay.
Everybody's wanting an update on that stoplight.
All right.
I don't know.
Any other?
It's pretty clear.
Right.
Any other questions on functional classifications? If not, we need a motion to approve the changes as submitted.
Let's do it. Motion.
So I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Real
Second.
enthusiastic on that one.
Enthusiastic and very well worded. Seconded in a very articulate manner by Mayor Mann. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do the roll call vote.
Frank Williams.
Aye.
Forte.
Aye.
Mark Martin.
Yes.
Rich Alt.
Aye.
Terry Mann. Gary Keaton.
Yes.
Jerry Groves. Hugh Kennedy.
Yes.
William Ravenbach.
Yes.
When they asked, did your board approve it? They said, yeah, sure.
We guessed. The motion carries unanimously and very enthusiastically. We'll now move on to reports and updates. And the first is Cape Fear RPO.
The only thing I have to add for a report, you have the STIP updates and revisions in your packet. There's nothing earth shattering in that one just from the last month. The only other thing, as you may recall or be aware, this September meeting was only added in the last few months to meet the project's submittal window of P8. So we originally had October meeting scheduled, thinking that that window might extend through October. It cut off in September, so we moved a meeting into September. That being the case, unless this board has any opposition to it, I don't see a need to hold our October meetings because we will meet again in November. And we'll have a few things that we need to take care of at that point. But
Does anyone have any objection to canceling the meeting that was to be on October 17th, I believe?
that's correct.
If not, we'll consider that a unanimous consent request.
Okay, then I'll send that out in the next,
I'll delete it from my calendar.
yep.
What is the November date?
The November date is the 14th. And that's all,
Any-
I have.
Any questions for Sam? If not, we'll move on. Anybody from the ports on or any report from the ports?
I don't have anything from them and I don't see Stephanie's not on today.
How about ferry division?
Nope, nothing beyond the prioritization list that we already discussed.
Division 3.
Here. Morning, everyone. So work through our typical list here with our projects in development. 2 intersection projects noted on here, one of them in the one we just discussed.
Yeah.
We have 5 bridges on Old Mill, NC-53, NC-106, Midway, Sunset Harbor Road, C-87, and then there's a roundabout that's in development at NC-210 and Watts Landing. On to our under construction. And if you want to go in through as I can, go through these, because it's a problem.
Question on the bridge replacement on Midway. How long do we anticipate that Midway will be closed during that?
That particular bridge is probably a 180-day closure, but let me get some better clarification on that for you.
Notice the let date's in July. How long after the let date would the closure begin?
Probably, usually it's like 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
If there's a way to have the closure start after the peak of hurricane season, because that is a pretty important way in and out of.
Yep, understand. And y'all know, I mean, we've said this for a few years now, where we're trying to, replace a lot of bridges on those 3 major corridors. We just opened 133. So we weren't gonna start this 87, this Midway replacement until we open this one. So we're
cool.
we're gonna keep 2 remaining, right?
Gotcha.
And how about the, Sunset Harbor, there's not a lot of ways in and out of there. And
I know, yeah, that's a tough bridge for us. It has been for many years.
Yeah.
That's.
Right, the next start until 2030. I'll be long out of office. Let the next guy get beat up.
Right.
I could still send them to your house.
What is the Moore Street over 211? That's done, isn't it? Over Price's Creek? Or are you talking about Bonnet's Creek?
So you're talking about this first orange one?
Yes.
Yeah, so it is open. It is open.
Right.
But as far as our percent complete, this really ties into the payout. And remember, we still have that water line to replace over on that side. So
So that actually, I remember Tom Stanley talking to you about that.
that's right, yeah.
So it really is there.
Yeah, it really is there. We really do have to replace it. That's why the payout is a little bit lower than 100% right
Okay.
now. So
Thank you, sir.
and this payout also is a couple of months of the actual work being done. Yeah.
And just a note on that from our construction teams, they said that they are expecting to have those utilities finished this month. So that's been an update that we followed up through with them. That's been one thing that we're getting.
On that 211 project, I'm certain it's a long way out, but I do get asked every time I go to Lowe's Foods. How long before that bridge is completed over 211 there?
You're referring to the same project we just discussed?
No.
The big project, the 211, the big projects. I'm not sure about that detail, but we can circle back with you, find out.
I don't personally care.
Right, you just want to have an answer to somebody, right?
Yeah, because every time I seem to go to Lowe's Foods right at the foot of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the folks are in the parking lot looking at it, right? Yeah,
exactly.
I get that.
I mean, I'm anticipating probably next summer.
Yeah, we'll get you an answer for
Are you
that.
talking about the Lowe's
Lowe's Foods.
on the, Long Beach Road extension of
Yeah, yeah.
the older Long.
Right.
Road.
I mean, like I go that way quite often.
Yeah,
And they're grading it, the dirt.
yeah,
I mean, it looks like it's pretty close to start throwing some pavement on
yeah,
it.
it does, okay.
But, people are very impatient. First they complain about it. And then when you're doing a construction, like they think we're gonna wave a wand and it's gonna be done over the weekend.
Yeah, the same people who complained about 133 flooding complained when it was being fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't win.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go to sleep one night, wake up the next morning, it's done. Right.
Don't inconvenience me, but get it done.
it's the same reason people want to do diet pills rather than go to the gym.
Uh-huh.
Those same people complain will be the ones that are very happy when it's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like when, as a past example, when the causeway between Wilmington and Leland was being done, everybody complained, but the moment it opened, everybody was happy because it actually worked. I mean, and it was painful. And I stayed over there a lot.
Very painful, yeah.
I stayed over there a whole lot.
Okay, so, yeah.
But it worked.
Right.
Anything else?
So just leading into the rest of the construction updates here. That was the bridge we just did.
Can I ask a quick question before we go forward?
Yeah.
Can you go back 2 screens?
This one?
Yes. Watts Landing Roundabout. That's kind of in our area down here. I thought the roundabout had been abandoned and the new project was a T. Is that not accurate?
It is accurate. So we are not gonna install a roundabout there. The description that's in the STIP has to change. We have to change it to improve intersection. And once we do, then this information will be, I'd say, grammatically correct, but.
No, I appreciate it. I just want to make sure I hadn't missed something or something changed that I wasn't aware of. Cool.
Totally understand. Yeah.
And if anybody else online has questions, go ahead and throw them out as we're moving through, because obviously I can't see who's got their hand raised or anything. So.
Right.
Appreciate that comment there to clarify. I'll make sure to update that on our future updates that we give to everyone. So we have that straighten out. So going through our construction projects currently, we just discussed this project in Bridge on 211 over Price Creek that had been open to traffic into July, and then like addition utilities. We had finished that.
So
the utilities.
yeah, I understand that part, but I think you guys were doing a hydraulic review of
For the other location.
for the other location
Yeah. I have some information to share with you.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Got some good information.
Hallelujah.
Next one out here is one we've all been waiting for is NC 133 reopening over Sand Hill Creek. Again, the percentage there isn't related directly to what has been open to traffic, but it's in relation to what the project is at. And currently, we're still waiting for all the vegetation to be established, which is hopeful for the spring to be completed essentially. But from a perspective of the public, it's open, signs have been turned, and so it's accessible. Next project down here is another bridge replacement over Long Creek along NC 210. It's in the midst of construction. There's a number of construction updates that we have that are pretty detailed as far as what's been being constructed out there. If anyone has any questions specifically to that, I can kind of provide some detail to that, but.
Traveling the new bridge now, they're tearing out the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. That's a good project too.
Next one on there is 211 from Midway Road to NC 87. References grading, drainage, and paving signals and structures. This is a widening section of this roadway, and the paving has been prioritized currently as the main operations that they're working through.
But that road will stay open, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Other than potentially.
Yeah, we're going to do traffic shifts.
Okay.
We'll move traffic to the new alignment on that raised grade there.
Yes, sir.
And then start to build the other side of it. So.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And then the last section that we get in here is our resurfacing and maintenance projects. There's a number of sections as referenced in this with various routes, those secondary routes that are on there. And the main ones that we have is to note is NC 53, I-40, I-95, US 74, NC 87. There's a sideway sidewalk improvement project that's referenced in here at various locations. And finally, there is the bridge preservation project getting into Surf City, which I believe is a lighting improvement along there. And the last slide is just going to reference our maintenance map. There's the application accessible to the public. If you'd like to utilize that, you can use a GIS application to see which projects are going to be proposed to follow up to our resurfacing and maintenance projects in the future. There's timelines and a legend that's provided there on the right. Feel free to utilize this if it's helpful. And that's all I have. If there's any other specific question.
I have one more, Jerry. I just texted about that signal at Ashton Crossroads. Should be operational by the middle of October.
Any other questions?
One other quick note, we are still, as Sam has mentioned, we are able to submit projects beyond on behalf of the division itself. So we get 10 submittal allotments. We're starting to narrow down all of those. I don't want to confirm everything because we're still working with all of our POs to confirm and make sure everyone's in place as everyone's having their final decisions being made. But we've tried to prioritize projects within the RPO. So there's a committed project that we're working with for Surf City currently. We have some discussions that we're going to have with them on it. And we're in communication with Sam constantly. If there's a project that was falling off, we've gone through our process of testing it, seeing how it's supposed to scores in comparison to the rest of our projects. So we've been staying in communication. That goes for bike parks as well. And then ferries we've been talking about. So if there's anything that does come up, we can definitely try to help and see if it would make our list, if there's another project that comes to mind. But due to the timeline, we're really getting close to this submittal window here. So I think the next time we see each other will be past actually that submittal window. So we'll be able to provide that list as reference for everyone.
I got a dumb question. It has nothing to do with me and Bergall, but it has to do with town of Watha. I go to the town of Watha board meetings because I'm the building inspector here. The 90-degree turn coming off Anderson Road coming into the town of Watha.
Yeah,
That gentleman's
that's
got
real
that,
funky.
it's got that rebar sticking up out of the concrete. I should have taken a picture of it.
By the edge of the road?
Yes. And one of the farmers hit it the other day and busted a couple of his tires and now they're
So it's
ready.
illegal.
Is it and is it not? But it's on the gentleman's property.
Is it on his property or is it sort of
I
DOT
think
right
it's
away?
I think it's on his property.
Right.
I don't know exactly where
Yeah.
the right of way is.
Okay.
The mayor asked about the other night, could I go talk to him and cut it down? That's not a building inspection problem.
That is definitely a DOT.
Yeah,
Right,
but
yeah.
he's
Been there a long time.
It's been there a long time, but the wrong person hit it the other day and he's not gonna let it go.
Did he hit it with a tractor tire?
Was C truck when he's making the turn.
Those aren't cheap tires.
No, they're
No,
not.
man, they're.
And I think it busted two of them.
I had
The rebar sticks up probably about 3 inches off. Anybody that hits it, I mean, he's got it concreted in the ground.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I legally,
So do you think it's on the right of way, Mr. Jerry? Or you think it's
I
on?
don't
his
know how
property?
it couldn't be.
Yeah, okay.
that's what I'm,
My opinion.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
I'll check it out. If it's on the right of way,
Hamlet,
it'll be on us.
you the man. I'll tell the mayor.
Any other questions?
Any more darts you want to throw my way?
How does the view from under that bus?
Hey, it feels pretty normal now.
I got a bulletproof vest you can borrow.
I'll just, hey, Sam, I'll just make another quick comment to reinforce what I stated last month. Anything that the NCDOT can do to help Oak Island out, accelerating sidewalks, getting crosswalks completed. I mean, anything we can do around pedestrian safety. The community is continuing to just, I think struggle and they're hurting. So if we can show, improvement of any kind or prioritization of anything, I know it would help the community out a lot for Oak Island.
Yeah, thank you for that. I like to propose, just to have a maybe in-person meeting down there, maybe walk some of these areas, invite Sam to come along, Eric to come along, and let's just go have a real conversation about, what are these challenges? is there any low hanging fruit that we can, all address together? I'd like to propose that sometime, later in the fall.
That would be
That's kinda like,
great.
okay.
Yeah, that sounds
Can you set
perfect.
that up for us?
Yeah, I'll follow up and we'll make that happen.
All right.
Thanks, Sam.
Any other questions? Not, we'll move to
I have a
division.
question, but I don't know if now's the time or not.
Always time for questions.
Sometime before this meeting closes, I get bombarded with these questions weekly. Can you give me some target dates on Hampstead bypass, different sections, full complete, whatever you can offer that you feel comfortable with me sharing with when people ask?
Yeah. So, you do want to just text you directly or just publicly say in this meeting or what?
I'm good either way.
Okay. All right.
After it's fine, that'll expedite the meeting. I don't want to hold people up because of this, but man, I get overwhelmed by this question damn near daily.
Understand.
I don't have those notes right in front of me, but I'll make sure I get you something this morning.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on to Division 6.
All right, good morning. Sam, do you have, yeah, there you go.
Yes, sir. I got you.
Sounds good. The first project on our list is one that's been ongoing. It's NC 87, NC 11 interchange with a little more improvements beyond that intersection with RCI's ongoing utilities, interchange, bridge construction. We're 61% complete on it with revised completion date of February 27. Next slide. This section here is US 701 over in the Whiteville area between J.K. Powell Boulevard and Virgil Avenue. Is functionally complete. The pavement markings are likely complete, and we're looking to remove this from future reports. The 87% is probably just kind of that last payment before we kind of close out the project here. So we'll just look to kind of remove this one for future reports. Our next project. So this one's over in the Lake Waccamaw area, our US 74, 76, Chauncey Town Road, Old Lake Road, two projects combined into one. Again, this is pretty much functionally complete. Some of the items that were pending as of our last report were pavement markings, some vegetation establishment, and lighting at roundabouts. I believe a lot of those have kind of taken place since this last update. The revised completion date on that was changed there, kind of identified in red to March of 26. So with that, we'll kind of move on to our next one. This is our US 74 corridor or future I-74. We've just got a couple of different portions of the corridor that we're looking to complete some drainage improvements and pavement and bridge rehab work. The resurfacing part of it should be kicking off here in this month, September. We're roughly 15% complete on that with estimated completion in June of 27. And then our next one has very little in Columbus County. It's there at the Robeson County line. Just some pavement rehab and bridge preservation work. We do not have a schedule on this one at this time, but Barnhill's got it, and they're estimating the completion there June of 27. The remaining part of the report are a lot of what I call their maintenance activities associated with preservation and resurfacing, minor widening, some RPMs, raised pavement markings, things of that nature. And then kind of following that are some safety projects, some bridge replacements, and future roadway improvements. My contact information is at the end of the report. If you have any questions, I'll take them now, or you can follow up at a later time. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? If not, thank you. We'll move on to Transportation Planning.
Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
I have a few CTP updates. The first one is for Columbus County CTP. I sent this report to Sam a few weeks ago before the TCC meeting, so some stuff may be outdated. Sam, I'll let you add to it after I give the update. But the project team is scheduling presentations to local adopting agencies. During the month of August, they met with the town of Sandy Field, Tabor City, and Brunswick. All three towns adopted the CTP, and then they already presented to Chadburn and the town of Bolton, and I believe also Whiteville. Sam, did you want to give an update on those?
Yes, so we haven't, so far, Tabor City, Sandyfield, Brunswick, Bolton, and Chadburn have adopted the CTP. Next week, we'll be presenting to Lake Waccamaw. The week after that is when we'll go to Whiteville. And in October, we've got presentations set up with Cerro Gordo and Fair Bluff, leaving Boardman our only municipality without a scheduled presentation at this point. And then we'll, after that, go to the county and then bring that same presentation to this body in November. So halfway through the municipalities, we've had good questions and conversations at each, but so far each local agency has been in support of CTP. So.
Thank you, Sam. So the only other update I had was for Pender County CTP. That's still ongoing. Our committee met on September 8th. So on Monday, we met to review the transit and rail recommendations and also look at the volume and capacity maps to see which roadways are nearing or over capacity now and in the future. The next time our team will meet is on October 6th to finalize the rail transit maps and add a few more recommendations to our highway maps based on capacity. Everything else is in your packet. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nazia. Any questions? If not, is there anyone from Integrated Mobility Division, or do we have a report?
We don't have a report, and I do not see Kim online today.
And how about Board of Transportation? Anyone come on from them?
No, Mr. Huff is out of town, and I don't see Mr. Zimmer online.
Well, we'll move on to open discussion. Anyone else have anything they want to share? I have a couple of things in a minute, but
can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
On our prioritization project lists, I just want to make sure. So I had mentioned that on the aviation list, we haven't maxed out our submittals. Is this board, if one of the airports comes back with an additional eligible project to add to a vacant submittal slot, is there a willingness to allow them that within the next week, assuming, I mean, obviously it has to come in on time.
Yeah.
I would say just to ensure that Sam is covered, let's get that in the form of a motion to give him that authorization. If someone wants to make that.
Yeah, second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on that.
Frank Williams,
Aye.
Mike Forte,
Aye.
Mark Martin,
Yes.
Rich Alt,
Aye.
Terry Mann,
Aye.
Gary Keaton,
Aye.
Jerry Groves,
Yes.
Hugh Kennedy, William Ravenbart.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Gary, thank you for bringing that up. Just a couple of quick things. Obviously, at our first meeting of 2026, we'll be voting on leadership for this board for next year. At some point down the road, it'll be time for someone else to step up. That doesn't necessarily mean next year, but I've been chair of this and Terry's been vice chair since 2014. So that's a long time. And at some point, if not next year, then the year after, it's going to be time for someone to step up. So if you think you'd have an interest in that, I mean, it's the saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. This is a seat at the table. It would require that whoever that person is dig in and, to the best of your ability, not being a transportation pro, understand how all this stuff works. I mean, I can tell you it's one thing to sit there. It's another thing to have to sit here and run a meeting with all these moving parts. And, I've been doing it 12 years and 11 years, and I still ask questions that I feel like I should know, but that's because it's so much to it. So just be thinking about that. If you're interested, talk to me. We'll be happy to have a conversation. On a different note, and this is something that down the road may come to this board, I'm also on the Wilmington MPO board, as most of you know, and I am somehow found myself as chair of a subcommittee there on alternative funding. That was initially generated because of the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge, but it will be about much more than that. And what we're researching, and again, it's just in the research phase at this point, and is the possibility down the road of putting in Brunswick, New Hanover, and possibly Pender County a sales tax referendum on the ballot. And it would, the way I would envision it would be that in Brunswick County, for instance, it would be on the ballot with a vote for, here's the projects that your money would go to. Ideally, that tax would sunset when those projects were built. Brunswick, the three I would see would be the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge, 211 widening, and Carolina Bays Parkway. Big ones, if it gets to that point. I just wanted to let you know that that's out there. There's nothing this board needs to do on it at that point. Really wouldn't affect Columbus County, but Brunswick County's money would stay for Brunswick County's projects. New Hanover County's money would stay for New Hanover County's projects. And if Pender County chose to do it, their money would stay for Pender County's projects. And it would be a way to possibly expedite some of the funding for some of these big projects that right now are 20 years down the road. So I just wanted to throw that out there, something that is being discussed. There's no action required at this point. And the final thing, about a year ago, we adopted a resolution with some legislative goals. I would love for us to revisit that and update them at our next meeting.
Okay.
To me, the number one that we probably need to have on the list is for all the counties that are subject to the Coastal Area Management Act would be to encourage the legislature to appropriate money for NCDOT to actually be able to clean out the ditches that they are supposed to maintain, but are not given the resources to maintain. And
would you think about seeing if they would be willing to add evacuation routes as part as a point?
That's also on there. That needs to stay on as well. Yes. And if there's any way you could research to see how we could tie in what happened in Western North Carolina into that argument, that would be useful.
As far as
the evacuations, yes. But specifically, the reason I pick out the Coastal Area Management Act counties, the state already puts more regulation on those. So if it's regulating developers and local governments in those areas, it should also uphold its end of the bargain on giving DOT money to clean out ditches, because what good does it do to have a great stormwater program if that money dumps into a ditch that is clogged up because DOT doesn't have the money or resources to clean it out?
Or authority.
Or authority.
Or authority.
Yes.
This came with discussion Tuesday night. We got a major problem in town.
Yeah.
How would you not have authority on a state road?
Big time.
Yeah.
We can't go beyond the right of way.
Right.
Well, okay.
And something on a sidebar note, that Brunswick County is very early in the stages of researching and is a possible county stormwater utility, which would have, and I have no idea how that would play out. It's something we'll be talking to all the towns about, because it, wouldn't do any good for a stormwater utility to stop at town X's border. And so we would need to try to work with the towns but that's not transportation related, but it ties into the argument about the stormwater. But the biggest thing for this board's purposes are getting those legislative goals updated so that when they go back into session next year, we can give them an updated list.
I'm sorry, Frank, but the stormwater authority that's at the county level?
It's something, and we're in the.
I know, I understand.
It would be a county stormwater utility. The way I would envision it ideally is that we would somehow enter into agreements with the towns where it would just be one for the county rather than trying to have 20 different.
I like the idea. I just want to make sure we got.
Yeah. I have no idea how it's going to work at this point. We're in the very early stages of researching it.
It was brought up.
Yeah, and it's most counties that have a stormwater utility have far higher population density than we do. So that's the challenge for us, as being a pretty rural, spread out county. How do you implement something like that?
But you have
it makes sense.
The pockets where the highest concentration on.
Yeah, and that's what we've got to. That's what the feasibility study will look at.
Geographically, we're over 1,000 square miles,
including the water. Yeah,
a big county.
Yeah.
But your population is really centered around the municipality.
Yeah, but the water's coming from everywhere.
Yeah. And so, anyone else have any comments or anything we need to address before we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, this is Bill Hammond, the Division 6 Corridor Development Engineer. I just want to let the board know this is going to be my last Cape Fear RPO TAC meeting After 33 years with NCDOT, I've decided to retire, so I'm going to be retiring November 1st. I've enjoyed working with everybody for the last 7 years as a corridor development engineer in Division 6. And this is my farewell to you.
Well, congratulations. And I'm sure we can get you appointed to some boards if you want to stay busy.
Good luck in your.
Congratulations, and I hope you wear out your fishing pole or whatever it is you choose to do when you're not working. Anything else? If not, we will go ahead and adjourn at 10:31 a.m. We're adjourned. And Sam, make sure I signed the right copies. I think I did.
Yes, I will.
Are you off?
Yeah. That's the second. I'm not sure what's the matter.